vessels are now congested. You know, they are prominent, congested. The costophrenical angle, they're not sharp. Are not sharp as you can see it when there is a deep inspiration. But how do you check for deep inspiration then? There are two ways. Either you choose one or another. The first one is when you can count on the right side only, not left, on the right side. When you could count at least 6 ribs, anterior ribs. Remember, anterior ribs, they are the ones that are oriented obliquely like this. They are obliquely oriented like this. Those are anterior ribs. And these somehow horizontal ribs that you can maybe think they are the ones that are anterior. No. These are the posterior ones, that are the horizontal one, but those are big behind their anterior ribs. But now, for deep inspiration of the chest film, when you can count at least 6 ribs above the diaphragm on the right side, that is a good inspiration. It was a deep inspiration. How do you count? Like now, if I want to count, this is the first rib anteriorly. Can you see it very well? Can you?
Yes.
Okay. The first rib anteriorly. This is one. The second one anterior rib. The third one. The fourth one. Fifth one. And sixth one. But there is also another 7th and even 8th. It is above the diaphragm. But for anterior ribs, how do we count? Do you know what you call mid-clavicular line? Mid-clavicular line, meaning the vertical line passing through the midline, the half of the clavicle, vertical line. Normally, the countable ribs anteriorly they are the ones that are crossing that mid-clavicular line above the diaphragm. Like now, I can call it like mid-clavicular line is like here. Vertical line. The only ribs that are crossing this line above the diaphragm, the last one is this one. That's the reason why we don't count this and that one. Like now, if you count now, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So if I can count at least 6 ribs, respecting those regulations, those rules, you know that was in deep inspiration. Okay, but if you have problem with counting anterior ribs, now choose to count the posterior ribs. The posterior ribs are not that difficult as the anterior ribs sound, because for the anterior ribs, there are those rules now. You have to go mid-clavicular line, crossing above, I don't know. But for the posterior ones, the only problem with that is the first 3 ribs. Because the first 3 ribs, if you see very well, they are somehow superimposed posteriorly. Like this is the first rib here. You should now check the ribs from anterior, from the first and the second, for you to know what is at the first and second and third posterior ribs now. Like if I go like from this first rib there, I follow it very well, I can see that posteriorly the first rib is there. I can come to the second one. If I follow very well, I will see that this is the second rib here posteriorly. And now the rest, because it's obvious, I can continue number 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, even 10. Those are above the diaphragm on the right side. So I'm very sure that this film was taken in deep inspiration. That was number 4 as the component of quality of the chest radiograph. But also here, I cannot just continue without telling you that some diseases, conditions, they require a doctor to request for chest radiograph in an expiratory phase, not inspiration, expiratory phase. It's when, for example, if you have a patient who have foreign body aspiration, is suspected foreign aspiration, that one, you have to request a film in exploratory phase so that we see what we call air trapping. Because if there is now, the patient removes the air from the lungs, where there is that obstruction, that foreign body in the bronchus, that air will not come out. And behind it now it's dark compared to other part of the lungs. That is called air trapping, the chest radiograph. Okay? Or in asthma, or when you are suspecting a mild or small pneumothorax. If you suspect a small pneumothorax and you do a deep, yes.
We didn't understand well about the posterior as for the anterior lips. You said we consider the mid clavicular line, and about posterior we didn't understand about it well.
Ntabwo mwumvise neza ariko biba biracika, ariko rero nanjye ariko muri kunyumva nanjye biracikagurika.
No.
Nanjye biragenda bika.
Turi kukumva neza.
Ubwo biraterwa na birumvikana nyine.
Yarabashije ngo kuri posterior avuze ko ari esheshatu. Ese iza
oya navuze ko oya urabyishyura bicuritse ma. Navuze yuko anterior leaves counting at least 6 above the diaphragm. Ariko posterior is it? Nicho? Yeah, at least 9. And remember that you have to count on right side only, not left side. I was telling you about the film in exploratory phase. Is a like mild pneumothorax. A patient to do a deep inspiration. Now, you will miss that pneumothorax because the lungs that are filled with air, it looks the same as that air in the pro space. To look the same, it is mild, small pneumothorax. So those, and it is up to the doctor, it is up to the clinician, the one ordering exam, to write on the paper request form that I need chest radiograph in exploratory. Because if we don't do say, the technician will never do it himself. And me, I will just read it at the end without even knowing what's happening. But when it comes to me, I say, they're suspecting foreign body aspiration, they're suspecting it's mild pneumothorax, and they have done deep aspiration, please. This cannot help. Go and repeat. And by repeating, your radiation, remember. So those are things a clinician should know and think. That is in radiology to know how and the expert phase they are done. And number 5 as element. Number 5, what is about angulation? Angulation normally does not exist when you are doing a PA in radiology because the machinal set, the X-ray beam is normally prepared to the body of the patient, to the chest. But in ICU, when they have used a mobile machine, they have removed an X-ray machine from radiology to ICU, for example. That perpendicularity will no longer there. And when it is no longer there, there is no symmetry. And it is where now you can see one chest, one lung, the left lung is white, another one is black, because one part of the lung has received much X-ray compared to another side. Or upper part is white, lower part is dark. So that's what we call angulation, and it happens every day. But when you know now it exists, you know that the X-ray was taken not in radiology, you have to think twice. Don't call it a disease as such, but it is technical issue. Okay? So before I go to the third step, let me tell you, don't never start analyzing the film without checking very well the technical qualities of the film. Because you will put a disease where there is no disease. And any question, if there is any question, you can ask, but let me continue. Number 3 as step is about now film analysis. Where is it? It's somewhere. Yeah, analysis, image analysis, where you describe the findings, where we analyze comparing the clinical history and what you see, and even making a diagnosis or differential diagnosis. Okay, those are the 3 steps. Let me tell you, one of the questions in my exam, I cannot miss to ask this question. And when I ask this question, I need those details I have told you to repeat them on the paper. And I will ask them, I will ask this question again. Okay. Number three is about now analysis, film analysis. Film analysis or image analysis now, it's when I told you in radiology you have to be systematic. Don't look at the film, the image, as if you're looking at a photo of your friend for some years back. Because from there, you can start by shoes, go to the shirt, and come back to the socks. You know, that's how you look at someone's photo. But in radiology, if you do that, you will miss completely. You will miss completely. And it happens every day. We see from the student when they look at the film randomly from left to right, from up, down, coming back, then down, you miss out. You should have a systematic approach. In many different books, you will find that they say use A, B, C, D, E, F, G hash. But in books, first of all, there is no method. Even you can sit very well. You have time. You can sit and create your own method. And you say, I will be starting by the shoulder and go to the spine, go to the diaphragm, go to the lungs, go to the mediastinum, go to the heart, you know. But the denominator of everything is make sure you have read everything there. Make sure all anatomical structures are analyzed. Whatever the method you want to use, the denominator is check everything there. Check the lungs, check the mediastinum. By saying the mediastinum, there is a certain ABCD number of anatomical structure. By saying the lungs, there is ABCD you have to check for. By saying check, no, in general. Sure, you check one rib from another, step by step. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, I don't know. When saying everywhere from the neck, the space, soft tissues, the axilla, this wall, the diaphragm, soft tissue. You check everywhere. So in my notes, and even in some books, they use this ABCD, where A is you check the airways very well, from up to down. B, bones, make sure you check all bones very well. C is cardiac, you check the heart. If it is not big, or it is not distorted as distortion. And here I will show you how we can measure the size of the heart, what you call cardiothoracic ratio. When the film was taken in PA view, posterior anterior only. When it is AP, because the heart becomes, in AP, the heart becomes big. When there is no deep inspiration, don't try to measure the cardiothoracic ratio. It's measured only when the film was taken in PA view, posterior anterior view, and in a deep inspiration. Okay? So,
Excuse me, may you repeat for a bit?
repeat what?
On
What
the
you tell me, Zeni?
on the cardiothoracic ratio.
Cardiothoracic ratio is measured on chest radiograph in PA view, taken in a PA view, posterior anterior only. And when the film was taken in deep inspiration. When those two things are not there, don't measure the cardiothoracic ratio because it will mislead you. It will not be true. Hmm?
Thank you.
Welcome. So see this for diaphragm, check very well the diaphragm from the costophrenic angle. So follow it and make sure it's very well seen, it's clear. E and F, meaning equal lung fields, E and F, compare both lungs from up, down, mid, you know. Gastric bubble, check if it is there, and H for hiram vessels very well. You know, that is one system. But I'm going to teach you what we do in practice in not only in the surgical where I work, but in Rwanda or even in other countries. A very simple system you should know. Okay? A simple one without passing through A, B, C, D as if you are in nursery school. So the practical intervention method we use in chest radiograph like this, we just check for only 4 things. Only 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Number 1 is about you check, first of all, you check from center to the periphery. And the first thing among those 4 is about the mediastinum. Check the mediastinum. And the mediastinum comes from up there. This is the mediastinum. The heart is is a part of the mediastinum. But also, when you are looking at the mediastinum, don't think you are looking at some opacity like this. No, you have to think and say, what am I looking at? What am I looking to? Is it in the mediastinum? Which component, which anatomical structures are within the mediastinum? Who can tell me like 5 anatomical components of the mediastinum? Charlotte? Charlotte? Ikintu mbangira rero namwe online turavuga ugasanga muracitse kandi I'm not looking at you. I mean, kandi nimwe mukeneye ko mbavuga. You should react.
Components.
Of the mediastinum, anatomical structure. The mediastinum. Tell me, very fast. Tell me
There
if
is
you know stage.
there is the esophagus. There is the
mwabishyize kuri internet mwabirebye nta kibazo. There is esophagus.
There is the great vessels.
Yes, great vessels. Which one? Which ones?
Yeah, there can be ascending aorta.
There you go.
There is the trachea.
Here you go.
There is the heart.
Here you go.
And there is even the that's enough. That's what I want to.
Yeah, by the way, we tried if you have remembered them yourself. It's good, whatever. But even the like spiral vena cover is there, you know. This is spiral vena cover of this one, like this. Spiral vena cover, you know, the aorta aortic arch, ascending is there. Can you see the ascending one? There is the pulmonary trunk, you know, that's coming from the heart. You know, there is descending aorta here. This is the left ventricle, this one. the left atrium, part of the left atrium is here. This is the right atrium. The right ventricle is in front normally, because an oblique configuration. So the anterior, the right ventricle, it's normally anterior. You cannot see it in front of you. Okay. So those are the trachea have talked, but in your mind any abnormality on those anatomical listed. It is in your mind. You are not at something like one thing. No. You are checking like the trachea is central. The mediastinum, upper mediastinum is normal in size. The grid vessels, you have said, they're normal, they're not distorted. There is no deviation of the mediastinum. The heart is normal in size and configuration. You know, there is no dilatation of the esophagus. You can see like achalasia when there is a obstruction, this obstruction of the esophagus, the proximal one is dilated, it's achalasia. When it is there, you can diagnose it in front of you like this. You can see esophagus with air fluid level. Action is some what you have taken as food or drink. They don't go stomach. They make air fluid level. Okay. Or mediastinum. Okay. That's number one among four. Now it's about the lungs. So those are the four things: the mediastinum, the lungs, the bones, and soft tissue. Normally, four things you check very well. Those four things, those four anatomical structures. You are very sure that you have seen everything. Mediastinum, number two, lungs, number bones, and soft tissues. Again, before I continue to the lungs and number two, I want to tell you something. There is what in radiology what we use as called 4S. S as a letter. S, 4S. S number one about size. S number two is about site, location. S number three is about shadow as opacity. And F number four is about shape. Voila. Shape. Okay. In radiology, in CT scan, X-ray, ultrasound, MRI, nuclear, I don't know. We always use those four S's to describe something. Because by looking at mediastinum, such as all, I use the number component for S, like size. Check if the trachea is normal in size. Check if the heart is normal in size. I check if the vessels are normal in size. Site, are they deviated from the normal location, or are in the center, or I don't know. And number three, shadow. Is there any opacity, mass-like opacity in the mediastinum? If yes, you mention it. If no, you know that's normal. And number five is shape. It's like there's some like if there is a cardiomegaly, even the shape of the heart has changed. If there is widening of the mediastinum or mediastinal lymphadenopathy or hilar lymphadenopathy, shape has changed. It's no longer the normal shape of the mediastinum. And here I cannot even forget to tell you that it's where now we measure the cardiothoracic ratio to see if there is no cardiomegaly. How do you measure it practically? It is this. Like this one. You see this image? Can you see?
Yes.
So this film now, normally, because the heart is an oblique orientation, you can't say, I will measure the cardiothoracic. Normally it is measured how? It's the largest diameter of the heart divided by the largest diameter of the chest. And where normally in the deep inspiration and PA, that should not be beyond, go over 0.5, half. People, they don't remember that 0.5 is a half. It should go beyond the half, 0.5. When it is more than 0.5, you know that it is an enlargement of the heart. But in a theory, that is how it is measured. It's that line in the midline, because on the left side, the farthest point of the heart shadow is there, and on the right side is up there. So you will just measure this plus this for you to make the largest diameter of the heart. If you don't do this, don't go in this, like, don't cheat us saying you have measured the largest diameter of the heart. No way. And for the chest, you come from in, rib cage, in and in, not out and out. No, it's in. Here they didn't reach this, it should reach here, and in here. And it is measured, this thoracic diameter is measured at the level of the diaphragm, all only. Because you look at very well, you observe very well, at that level, it is where the diameter of the chest is longer, it's big, it's bigger than the rest. And unless someone has abnormality, but at the level of the diaphragm, it's where the diameter is big. It's where you have to measure the thoracic diameter. Okay? Good? Clear? But in practice now, what you do, you put a ruler here, like 0 is at that level, and you bring it down carefully so that you measure the diameter at this level, but make sure that 0.0 here, it's no longer touching the margin of the heart, but it's a bit far, because upwards there, the farthest point on the right side was at this level. But you bring the ruler like this one. Very simple. Okay? Rajani?
Yes.
Yes.
Number 2, it's about lungs, I told you. Number 2 is about lungs. Okay? Normally, when you do chest radiograph, in most of the cases, 99%, they want to look at the lungs. So this is now important. They say now, we say in the radiology that you cannot come from the mediastinum, go to the lungs without passing through a door or window. But that window in the radiology, you have to look at it before you just go or enter. That window or door from mediastinum to the lungs, it's what you call the hyram. Hyram is not a step, it's not a amount of things you have to look at, but it is a door, a window that has to, okay? So how do you check the hyram? Remember, and you have to know that the hyram on the left side, the normal hyram is this one. Can you see my hello?
Yes, we can see it.
The hyram on the left side is this one, and the hyram on the right side is this one. Yeah, it's confluence of vessels here. So normally the left hyram is elevated, is above the right one by 1.5 something, 2 centimeters. So when you see them being at the same level, you have to wonder, you have to ask yourself why. Is something pulling or pushing one of the hyram? You see? And again, for you to call it, sometimes you can have hylar lymphadenopathy or something, but one thing you have to check is this concavity. You know, those are vessels going up, those are vessels coming down. They make this concavity laterally. Even here, vessels going up, others going down, there is this concavity. When you see that concavity is lost, You have to think twice and say, maybe there is superimposed mass, and that mass be lymphadenopathy or any other mass. Okay, that's one.
Question: where is the concavity?
Concavity.
Yeah.
Concavity. Don't you know what is called concave? Concave and convex. You don't?
But I can't see it on the Hiram.
You can't see it. In radiology, we don't. Radiology, we discover things that are not that clear. That's our role, by the way. Eh? They are making it, in Hiram, some vessels are going up normally. You see them, many X-rays. Vessels are going up, others are coming down. So they make now that concavity here. Can you see it? You can. See, teaching online in radiology is better than teaching on projection. Here you see as I am seeing it. Can't you see that they're making a concavity here?
Okay.
The same as here. Some vessels are going up, others going. They're making this concavity here. Yeah. And when that concavity is lost, you have to search for the cause. And most of the cases, it's a mass, lymph nodes, After mediastinum and passing the window, although called Hiram, we go to the lungs now. The reason why in most of the cases we have done it to X-ray. So the lungs, there is right lung, a left lung. You know that the right lung has normally 3 lobes, and the left one has 2. But on a chest radiograph, you cannot divide the lungs into those into those lobes, because the features are not seen, features. So what we do, radiologists are sat down and said, let us divide the lungs into what you call zones. For us, for it to be, to facilitate locating a region or a disease. Because if there is an opacity at the apex, another one at the base of the lung, those two things can be different. You can change the diagnosis, the final diagnosis and the differential. You see? So the radiologists have said let us now subdivide the lungs into 3 zones, not lobes, zones, because we are not able to divide the lungs into lobes from the X-ray. On CT scan, it is easier. You can see the features, but here on this radiograph or oblique fissure. Okay, so they have said about this from the apex to the inferior margins of the second anterior ribs. Remember, anterior ribs are these ones. That one, it's called upper zone. From that, you make a horizontal line passing through at the inferior margin of this second anterior ribs. That is upper zone. From the second there to the fourth there, and you make a horizontal line, and those are the middle zone, and inferior now it's the lower zone. And when you are describing a chest radiograph now, after interpretation, you say there is focal opacity in the right or left middle zone or lower zone. And from there, someone can say, okay, if it is like that, then I think it can be this and this, okay? Number 2, in the lungs. Normally, if I ask you a question, when you are looking at the lungs on chest radiograph, which are the components of the lungs? What do you think? The lungs are composed of what? Who can tell me?
Ntabwo twumvishe.
The lungs are composed of what?
Free zones.
Air.
Huh?
Air.
That's air, number 1. Number 2, is it air in the sac or number 2?
Parenchyma.
Alveoli. But alveoli, what do you mean? No one say, yeah, what alveoli, what do you mean? So the pocket of air. But number 2 as component is,
Blood vessels.
sorry?
Blood
Lobes.
vessels. Blood vessels.
The vessels. Lung vessels. Number 3. Let me ask you before you say number 3. Where do vessels, pulmonary vessels, pass to? Where does are they pass in the lungs?
Lung helium. Lung helium.
Lung helium, lung, what we call interstitium. Interstitium, do you remember? It's a connective tissue separating the alveoli, I have said. It's called interstitium or connective tissue in the lung. It's where now pass 3 things: vessels, veins and artery, lymphatic system, and even bronchi. Those 3 things. And bronchi. Those 3 things that passing through the connective tissue of the lung or interstitium. That's when they say there is the disease is within that structure, connective tissue, where now there is a vessel, artery and veins, where there is lymphatic system, where there is bronchi, you know. So it's up to you now to know which one is involved. So those are what we look at the lungs. You have to think twice. The lungs are composed of this and this and this, and I can see this opacity. So what this may be interstitial disease, may be miliary TB, it may be, this is apparently it is an alveoli accumulation of fluid in alveoli. This most likely pneumonia or consolidation, you know. That's how you think, you analyze the lungs. And now the lungs are analyzed into zones. You compare the upper zone from right to left. You compare the middle zone from left to right and left. The same as for lower zone. You compare to see, are the vessel the same? Is there any opacity? Is there any, you know, everything? The size, is there in reduction in size, in the volume, you know? And you cannot finish at looking at the lungs without checking the pleura. Normally, in normal patient, the pleura cannot be seen because it's very thin. But when it has a problem, you can see it like pro-effusion, pro-thickening, pro-calcification, pro-masses, you know. It is seen here normally. So imagine that the pleura is the cover, it's like a dressing of the lungs. The dress. It's covering the lungs from right to left, you know. Okay, so when you are seeing those, you have seen those 3 things, I mean lungs as anatomy and the pleura. Now you go, you are very sure that you have seen the lungs very well. You know, if there is any disease, you say confidently that I didn't miss anything. I have seen everything in the lungs. And you go now to the bones. Bones is very even easier, because bones, it's clear, you can see one bone from another one. Make sure, let me tell you, make sure you check each bone one by one. Don't say the bones are okay without even checking. Check one by one. Check the clavicles. Check the joint, the shoulder joint. Check the spine. You know, check the clavicles. Check every single thing. And at the end now, you check number 4. You check the soft tissue. Soft tissue means what? The neck maybe has neck lymphadenopathy, supraclavicular soft tissues, maybe chest wall, axilla. The diaphragm is the soft tissue. The diaphragm is part of the tissue. The diaphragm is part of it. Even the liver, check if the liver is normal. You can have some calcification in the liver. You know, those are the 4 things you should look for as you're analyzing chest radiograph. Since you mwabyumvise.
Understood.
Eh? Tell me, mwabyumvise?
Yes.
Let me tell you, nshatse na ahangaha niba mwumvise ibinyimba bwiye ukaba uzi ko you have that system and you have seen everything. Let me tell you, you cannot just easily miss the diagnosis.
Question.
Now let me finish by telling you, talking to you about now. I think ntagiye muri detail cyane about now the findings. What can we have in lungs as disease? We can have cardiomegaly, I told you, can have mediastinal lymphadenopathy, hilar lymphadenopathy, but in the lungs you can have either what you call airspace disease, as a alveolar disease, as in consolidation, or any other disease in alveolar, or you can have interstitial lung disease, where you can have different A, B, C, D opacities, but each, for you to differentiate those two, there are some signs in radiology you have to know. Like for those 2 films, you can see that there is an opacity here, but apparently when you look at it, it is limited by a fissure, horizontal fissure, because horizontal fissure normally comes from the hilum going to the periphery. It is limited by the fissure, but there is a patch. It's like I'm very sure that this is alveolar. It is not interstitial lung disease. It is alveolar. It's patchy, irregular, patchy opacity, but there is some air passing through it. And another one is, have you ever heard about silhouette sign positive sign in the lung? Silhouette sign is when 2 opacities. When I say opacity, it doesn't mean a disease. Even the heart has opacity, it's an opacity. The diaphragm is an opacity. The breast is an opacity. So when 2 structures are in the same plane, in the same plane, same level, same plane, they obscure each other. That's what you call silhouette sign positive in radiology. Silhouette sign positive. Okay? And another sign is about what you call air bronchogram sign. It's when there is an opacity, and within that opacity, there are some small tubular dark structures, and those tubular dark structures are bronchi within a collection in the alveoli, a collection of fluid, some pus, I don't know. That is a typical sign of consolidation. Like in this case, it is a well-marginated opacity, but with air bronchogram in the lung, this is most likely consolidation. I can't tell that it was a pneumonia because the consolidation is different. It's a diagnosis already. It's better you use that term, because saying pneumonia unless you combine with the clinical presentation of the patient. Another case here is this. Can you see irregular. Most it has some, look, can you see this? There's some tubular structures with air brongram sign. Air brongram sign is a sign of consolidation. And it is even, silhouetting the margin of the heart. This is have those are examples of the
pre-effusion
who told you about this? Have you were you born? Okay, that's very good. That's, by the way, that's a sign I wanted to teach you today also. That another sign, important sign. When you see an opacity at the base of the lung,